Okay, we're gonna start real quick because I was asked to do this on attaching a Proxmox cluster to a Ceph cluster when they're split and external. Let's do that real fast. So we're gonna create this would be you installing Proxmox on your systems, right, on your physical hardware. And I'm just gonna go ahead and use a virtual machine myself. So this is my Ceph cluster. You see where it says type RBD? So this is my external Ceph cluster. We're going to pretend like this is a host 16384. Sure, paravirtualized, bridged. Got it. Confirm, sure. Okay. And once it's created, this is on the wrong host. I should have done that first. Okay, great. We're going to add network device. We're going to do the same paravirtualize. We're going to connect it to the storage SAN as I have listed here. We're going to need to be able to connect to that. All right, and then we're going to kick this pig. So this is weird inception. We're installing Proxmox on Proxmox. So now we're going to go ahead and do the install. Hopefully this shouldn't take too long. So you would install a Proxmox cluster, right? I'm sure everyone can figure out how to do that. Instructions are super easy on the internet. What's not so clear is how to set up an external external Ceph cluster into it. Test.com. We really don't. We're not keeping this guy. We'll do 24. We'll do 24. Just so that we know where we're going with this. Now it's going to do its bit. So you would install 3 or more Proxmox systems, or maybe even 1. I don't know what you guys are building out there. But typically, if you want to establish quorum, you need an odd number greater than 1. That is 3. Or you can have 2 and a witness. And there is documentation out there for creating a CoroSync witness with like a Raspberry Pi or something. It's obviously not a supported method, but you can do it. But basically, Proxmox is a virtualization environment. It's free to download, and there's a nag screen that pops up that says you don't have a valid subscription, right? And basically, you pay a subscription, and then you're able to use it. You don't have to pay the subscription; it lets you use it without it. But it's in my opinion, it's a very nice interface for KVM and QEMU. It also has container support, so it's. I haven't used it in a corporate setting yet, but I can honestly say that as someone who's used a lot of VMware, as someone who's used a lot of OpenStack, Proxmox seems to have less difficulty. I have QEMU KVM installed on this actual machine, the hardware that I'm running this recording on, and I have issues with it sometimes. It's weird. So congrats to these guys for maintaining a stable release cycle with this stuff. Actually, I shouldn't be too harsh on KVM. It's mostly sound card issues, and my sound card is external. And I know that there's weird timing issues with USB sound cards and virtual machines and USB host, stuff like that. I'm using a PVFX8 for my sound card. Not really a sound card, more of a soundboard, but that's neither here nor there. It's just for recording. And I need to keep talking while this finishes the installation. I like to do this from scratch stuff so that nobody's swindling anybody else, so that you see everything that happens on the screen. I can try to deliver you as much information as possible. So in this video, we're making the assumption that you have a working Proxmox cluster and you have a working Ceph cluster, and you just want to marry the two. You want to put them together in a way that would be functional and everything works well. So that's what we're going to do here. As soon as it finishes the install. So our first step after this guy finishes the install and reboots is we're going to connect it to the SAN network here. They're physically separate. I have another video on this channel that says Ceph disk down. If you actually look, I take you into the crawl space of the house where the servers are located, and you can see several switches. They're physically separate networks. I can access them through a management interface. So for instance, that's this guy. Let's minimize here. So this is the actual Ceph cluster, and if I configure this, there's the management interface on the LAN. There is a client access interface, and then there's the back-end network, and this is where the systems talk to each other and transfer data. So you see, it's chatty, but not too much. Here you can see it's a terabyte sent out from this guy since it was last rebooted. Which I don't. When was it last rebooted? 8 days ago. I do a lot of maintenance to these guys. I'm always trying to keep things up to date and all that jazz. So this is almost done. This shouldn't take too long. I know I say that for all my videos, but it's there we go, reboot. Oh, geez. CD-ROM. All right. Has the CD stuck in there? All right. Come on. There we go. So now we're going to pretend we have a working Proxmox cluster. It's actually one of the easiest clustering setups I've ever seen, Proxmox. You go to your main system, you type PVE, create the IP address of a virtual that you want to create, and then you go to the other things and just add them to that. It's actually quite amazing. Okay, so to do this, I made it 24, right? https://1024.0.24:8006. Okay. We're going to pretend like we're already got a cluster of them here. We got to pull up its console. Where were we? Okay. So essentially in etc PVE priv, there is this. In this folder, etc PVE priv, you mk'd their Ceph. Right? So you go cd Ceph. It has to be a folder. You have to create it in there. And now what we need to do is get the Ceph key. So we're going to SCP, and I've already put this key in a place where I can SCP it. Cephd at 30 is the management interface. Ceph dot client dot add admin dot keyring. Now you don't have to use the admin keyring. You can create a keyring specifically for your Proxmox systems, and I suggest you do exactly that. And then you name it. Let's name it PXE storage dot keyring. And now that's going to be important because whatever you name it here is what you're going to have to do to pull it up on the actual software. So before we can proceed here, we need to connect the network. So under network, we're going to create new Linux bridge, VM, blah, blah, blah. Actually, I'm not going to even bother with the Linux bridge. I'm just going to hard type it into this guy. 192.168.10.88 because I don't feel like looking up. So this is the network, the client access network. We're going to auto start this guy and we're going to hit OK to this. And that's it. We are ready to reboot. So we're going to go here and we're going to hit yes, restart. So on this guy here. Let's see what we can come up with. By the way, you don't have to copy that file onto every one of your Proxmox hosts. When you are clustered, everything in /etc PVE gets replicated across your cluster. Okay, so our files are in there. This guy's ready to go. We've rebooted. We have the network. Let's just refresh this page to make sure everything's good. Right? Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go here. Now this part will still not work because you're not using the built-in Ceph. Okay? You're going to go to storage. For the data set, you're going to add, you see where it says RBD external. Simple enough. The ID has to be what you named your keyring. So I believe it was PXE storage. Let's verify that real fast. Yeah, PXE-storage. So this has to be exactly like that. And then you're just going to put in your monitors. 192.168.10.10 in my case. You're supposed to put all three or however you have it. And you just click add. It's done. You have Proxmox storage. It's set. It's all there. Of course, I use the default pool of RBD, which doesn't have anything in it. My actual pools here are different. These guys actually have stuff inside, but that's it. That's all it takes. You have a working Proxmox external Ceph cluster storage, and believe me, you don't want to do hyperconverged. It is. I don't know what idiot came up with that, but it doesn't work out. There've been at least 3 times I've been with companies that have tried to do the hyperconverged route, and it always ends up kicking them in the ass. The performance is not there. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.